All right, welcome back. In this assignment, we have some foods that we want, I guess, right here. And we have a title for our web page. We have a level one header, and then we have an unordered list of items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items in the list. And let's see, these are all, well, they're just items, I guess, that we want to, food that I want, right? Now, when I run this code in the web page, this is what I get. And it looks pretty good. This is kind of what we would expect to see right now. We have food I want, which is a level one header. We have the food pickup list here at the top of our tab. And then we have this unordered list of items, which means, of course, that we have bullet points. So what they want us to do in this assignment is to make a cascading style sheet rule. So we're going to be here in the style sheet in the head or the metadata. That is going to make each of these list items have a specific font size. Now, you just need to follow along with the rules of the assignment. So the value that I use may not be the value you want to use when you do the assignment. Check the assignment, put in the value, and then you'll have it. You'll have what you need there. So with this, then I'm going to give my list items. Okay, so what we want is for all the list items to at least have a font size that is, I'm just going to choose something random. I'll choose, let's say, 20 pixels on this one. So we're going to make LI, and then I use a fancy bracket. Now I'm going to go down 2 spaces here and close my fancy bracket so that I can work on the inside of my list tag for my style sheet. And here we're going to give it a font, F-O-N-T, dash size, S-I-Z-E, of, and so there's a colon, 20 px, 20 pixels, and that right there should be enough to change each of these items, list items, inside the unordered list tag to have a font size of 20. So if I come back here and reload the page, you can see that the font size changed just a little bit, so that now each of these items has a font size of 20 pixels. So that satisfies that first step, and you'll keep in mind that some of these items that I have in my list are a little bit different than yours. So you'll want to check with this next part, but what they want us to do is to have a dairy class. So you look at these items down here on lines 19 through 24, and I see I have heavy cream, which is a type of dairy. Bread, I don't think bread is considered dairy. I'm not really sure what they consider it to be. Maybe it's its own separate class, but cheese also would be considered dairy. Eggs, I think that's poultry. Lettuce is produce, and peaches, I think, is also produce, maybe fruits. I don't know, but I know they're not dairy at least. So we're going to specify, okay? We already have a font size for a list tag. Now we're going to give ourselves a class. So that's going to be dot, or the period, and then we're going to name it dairy, D-A-I-R-Y, and we're going to do the same thing with the fancy brackets there. So fancy brackets allows me to put in some styles into the dairy class. Now, because the dairy is more specific than the general list tag, it's going to override the list tag font size. So whatever I give the dairy class will now apply to anything that I give the dairy class to in the list, which of course for me is just going to be heavy cream and cheese. So we're going to give it a font, F-O-N-T-S-I-Z-E. This time instead of 20 pixels, we're going to give it 30 pixels font size. And of course, this right now won't do anything. So if I come to my web page and reload, it hasn't done anything to heavy cream and cheese. That's because I have not told it to do it. Remember, anything that you want to happen in code or on a web page has to happen in the code specifically. So I need to come down here specifically to my dairy items of heavy cream and cheese and give those the class dairy. So what is the class? Or how do I give it a class? Just class, C-L-A-S-S, equals quotations, and we're going to name it the same name as we've given it up above, where it is dot or period dairy, D-A-I-R-Y, close quotations. And that's all I really need right there. Okay, now what is this going to do for me? If I go to my web page and reload, Heavy Cream now has a font size of 30 pixels. So why is the cheese not showing up? Even though, of course, it is dairy, the computer doesn't know it's dairy until I tell it to give it a class that is dairy. And you can see that's what I look at that typo right there. If I try this out, watch what happens. Run this, and nothing happened to my cheese. Why is that? Because I used the wrong character right there after class. It should be an equal sign, and that should solve our problem right there. So if I come back here and reload, now cheese has a font size of 30 pixels, which is exactly what we expected, giving it the dairy class inside the style sheet. Now, could we have done that for each of the items? Yeah, you could go into each of these list items and say, you know, you give yourself a style that's a font size of 20 pixels, except these two, give them a 30 pixel font size. But you can see, hopefully, that this is a little bit easier using the cascading style sheet up here above, because when we do that, we can kind of specify what we want to happen, where we want it to happen. And of course, the more specific the style sheet rule, it will override anything that is more general. So classes are more general than your tags. So you want to keep that in mind. Of course, later on we're going to be using IDs, but for now we have our class and our tags. So that completes this assignment. Make sure you submit it, make sure you get full credit, and then we can go to the next assignment.